Everyone's got dollar signs in their eyes today, I see. So anyway, we're going to start this budget presentation. And as soon as I find my agenda, we'll begin. Okay. We've got the meeting of February 11th, special budget meeting. We'll call it to order. We certainly are grateful for the privilege of living on these lands, and we give credit to our First Nation neighbors for allowing us the privilege to do so under the existing treaty rights. Calling meeting to order, I'll ask if there's a disclosure of pecuniary interest with any of council. Give me a minute there. I don't see any hands. We can move on. Confirmation of the agenda. It has been circulated, and the recommendation is that the budget agenda of council dated February 11th be accepted as presented. Any errors or omissions? The chair will then entertain a motion. Someone please raise their hand. Thank you, Councillor Emery. Seconder for that, please. Councillor Myers. All in favor? It's carried. Staff, in my opening remarks, I want to thank you for all the work you've done. We have come a long ways, and I know that we will look forward to questions that'll be forthcoming. Just for some opening notes, Council, before I hand it over to staff, under the provincial legislation, this is formally considered the mayor's budget. Now, you know that I have made it exceptionally transparent that is consistent with my former direction and commitment to council. The budget has been developed through a staff-led process consistent with how budgets have been prepared in the past. So really there has been no changes from our past history. As I said earlier, I believe in democracy, and there may be some privileges I might exercise from the chair, but the nuts and bolts of this budget will be accepted by council. Staff have led the analysis, the review, and preparation of the budget, and I sincerely want to thank the treasurer and staff for their work. I will certainly leave lots of room for debate and amendments to the budget through the normal process. I do, however, ask that if you have an objection, I'm looking that it be followed by a corrective measure and recommendation. Just to say, no, I don't accept that. What is your alternative? What do you do? Are you pro a lower level of service, or to apply a budget that maintains our level of service, or a budget that raises our level of service? So if you have an objection, kindly state the reason why you object and what you assume would be a corrective measure. Staff are motivated by direction from council, and they need it very clear and precise so the bylaws can be enacted. And we certainly look forward to not only your support or your objections, but also the reasons behind your statement. It'll be very transparent. We'll begin the presentation with the treasurer shortly. Okay. We need some
Mayor Mayhew, may I ask a question of council?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Did all of you pick up your new printed binder information from your mailbox? I see everybody looking through their binders. Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interject. I just saw you folks looking.
Thank you, Amanda. Very
Sorry,
good. Yep. I think they're being fetched as we speak, and we have a motion on the floor that's been moved and seconded. We have not voted on this yet. I'll call the vote that the agenda be accepted as presented. All in favor? It's carried. And there is some new changes in the budget, and Kevin, thanks very much for doing that, Kevin. Yep, you got lots of paper in front of you there. We will Move on to number 4, staff reports, proposed budget amendments and discussion. Denise, I want to thank you again, and I'll let you lead the way.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew, and good morning, Council. Just a couple of highlights from now that you all have your budget package. What we did was it's a complete package of what you received through the agenda. One of the things that we took, and I think one of the most important notes that I took from the last meeting, is I've printed your new documents right from the agenda. They have page numbers. So we'll be able to refer back to the page number. So please, the only ones that don't have a page number on it is the capital, because again, back to my eyesight, I made it on a very big page paper. So feel free to reference those page numbers at the bottom. What staff has done since the last budget meeting is we heard council and we took the notes that were made through conversation in regards to our first go around with the budget. And staff, in the meantime, over the last week and a half, what we've done is we've gone back and we've looked at our entire budgets completely, knowing that council had some great questions and wondering if there was any other areas that we could address. That's why you're receiving a complete package. We heard all of the comments, and we're introducing a lower tax rate proposal this week based on staff reviewing their budgets, updated quotations, remarks from council, receiving better information, and staff is again providing you with a budget today that we feel is the bricks and mortars of the municipality and a good solid budget, and we look forward to your deliberations today. If we go to the PowerPoint, it's the same process as the last budget meeting. If we go to the PowerPoint on the second page, so if we go past, the outline has changed. We've just updated the utility budget as our CIO, Amanda, has circulated. We're going to be deferring the utility budget. It does not impact tax rates. We will have capital projects that we are discussing today. However, none of them come from the tax base. They're all from the rates. And we'll be bringing that budget on the March 4th meeting, because we'll have Aqua present at that time. And we as staff felt that it was better to have Aqua present to answer council questions and also be able to address the numbers that are in the budget, which is largely in combination with Aqua. So there is one small change to that outline page. Moving to the next page, that's still the operating budget framework that staff go through on an annual basis, the same way we've established better numbers today for council to consider. On the next page. So this is an update of the total budget by with the revisions. And staff is presenting today a proposed tax increase of 5.996%, which is down from the 7.04, and the levy percent is 11.06. Just as a reminder to council, the difference between the levy rates of 11.06 is based on spending, that's the dollars spent, and then the tax rate 5.996. Just as a reminder to council, historically, we've taken the growth, 100% of our growth of the municipality, and have applied it to reduce the tax rate, and that's why the two numbers are different. Next page. On the next page, to highlight the changes that staff has found through going through the budget, looking for additional savings, we're bringing back $75,859 in reductions to the levy. And I've put on the left-hand side the first levy request and by department. And then on the right-hand side is the new levy request by department. Is there any questions at this time on this slide?
Yes, Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Great question. So waste management expenses have gone up considerably. When we spoke at the last meeting, a reminder that the recycling grant that the municipality had previously negotiated no longer is an opportunity for revenue for the municipality. as the province has changed the waste management. So we will no longer be receiving the $500,000 in grant, and our costs will be also reduced, but the net effect is that change on waste management.
Yes, that's a substantial amount of money. I have discussed that with staff, and 500,000 is a significant loss of revenue, and it does have an impact on this budget. And quite frankly, to get down to the rate it is now, it was a struggle, considering the loss of that. Now, we hope the province will make some corrective measures, but we can't count on that because it hasn't happened yet. But there is discussion, and there's across the province of Ontario, everyone's concerned about it. So we hope there'll be some corrective measures. Continue on, Denise. Thank you.
If we go to the next page, I've inserted that for today's conversation and a reminder that when we prepare a budget and council deliberates on it, we have relationships with external agencies that are beyond our control through negotiated provincial contracts, and then also contracts that we've negotiated with the municipalities. Just as a reminder, our OPP is going up by 11%. And I do have an error. I believe the second LTBCA should be St. Clair. Thank you to Councillor Vink for bringing that to my attention. So I apologize for that mistake. So the first one is we have our conservation authorities going up, one by 12% and the other just over 11%. Our transportation services for 4 counties, although it's a nominal amount and change in the budget, it does impact those levy percentage changes. It's going up by 13.79%. Our corporate insurance, we negotiate our new rate in July, and in talking to OR Insurance, they suggested that a 3 to 5% increase would be best for the budget. And of course, we've taken the 5%. So there could be potential savings when we renew that contract, but at this time, we're depending on their expertise. And then the waste management contract, you can see that the difference between the two is $215,000, which has a very large levy impact. So based on $464,000 in change, those are items highlighted, large dollar items that unfortunately impacts our tax rate increases and also diminishes our ability to, as staff, to propose a lower tax rate or levy increase based on those increases. So I hope that slide is helpful for council. Any questions on that? So Mayor Mayhew, this is where the departments start to deliberate their budgets, and we've highlighted in the PowerPoint conversation items that staff would be, they're happy to have conversation on every line in the budget. These are the highlights from each department's budget. Would you like to go through the PowerPoint? How would council like to
I'd like you to go through the PowerPoint, and there's it may reduce some of the questioning and is a better understanding. We'll take our time on it, Denise, and go through page by page.
Okay. So just to highlight on the general governance, our OMPF has gone up. That's a good news story by 10%, which is fantastic. And again, the insurance estimate has been at 5%, which is a $19,000 change. One of the items that is important for council to understand, a large portion of our governance is risk management through financial systems, a very important topic in today's business. And our IT budget has increased by 9.76%, which is $17,000. Most of that is attributed to costs of software increases and additional risk management processes that our current contractor, who is Middlesex County, feel that it's important for all of their supported lower municipalities to have. So that's $17,000 as an increase. As a reminder, council back in 2025 approved the debt management policy, and the debenture interest that is estimated to impact taxes this year for 2026 is $275,000. And then as a reminder as well, we're in election year, if that hasn't been brought to anyone's attention. And staff is projecting that we have $31,000 worth of election expenses as a one-time item that would not normally be in the budget. Are there any items in the governance budget that council wish to go into detail?
I think, council, any questions on that? That $31,000 on election expenses, Denise, are you including new laptops in that?
Yes,
in
sir.
that figure? Thank you very much. I had a question on that, and that answers that in advance. Thanks very much.
Moving on to the fire and protection budget. You'll see that Chief Johnston has done a great job in keeping his budget in line with expectations due to inflation as well as prior year's experience in fire and protection, because we cannot, a lot of it is based on contractual items, but a lot of his items, a lot of these budgeted items are based on a rolling average. So in the fire protection, we would go back 3 to 5 years where appropriate. We would apply cost of living where appropriate. And the chief has done a great job in not bringing any additional one-time items through the operating budget. His requests are deferred to the capital budget. We expect to see outbound fire services to increase by 5,000. What happens in the budget is we don't budget for a catastrophe in the fire department. However, revenues do increase should an event happen. But we have increased with the negotiated contracts an additional $5,000. And as revenues come in, as the fire services respond, revenues will increase in that department as we bill out for the supply of the service to a municipality or to an insurance company. Safety clothing has increased by $4,000, which reflects new recruits and replacement of uniforms that have met their end of life. Any questions on the fire and protection operating budget?
I think it would be pertinent to ask this question now for the benefit of the council. Denise, we had an arrangement with Firemark where we recaptured some of the costs of the fire department. And Gary, you tune your, or Chief Johnson, you tune your ears up. You might want to add to this too. But are we gleaning any revenue from that, or has there been some changes? I understand that the municipality is circumventing Firemark and doing some of this on their own. Could you add to that?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor, and to council, and I will use my friend beside me if I need additional help. So Fire Pro is a great service. I've dealt with them in other municipalities. They have a wonderful program that comes with an expense back to, they receive a percentage back through their program. In conversations with the chief, we've talked about the use of Fire Pro. They have, or sorry, Firemark. We have used them in the past. However, as we learn the program and understand how the billing works and then have relationships with the insurance companies, we've been doing that on our own. And so we are able to make savings where it's appropriate. So for example, we can bill back insurance companies if it's a motor vehicle response, if it's someone outside of our municipality, as well as we also have options if it's a property fire that contains a building. Chief, is there anything more you'd like to add?
No, that's good. And
no, Denise, you've covered it all. Basically, we put some systems into place so we can recover those costs much better now. Systems that weren't in place, 2025 was a pretty good year. We expect 2026 to be better.
Okay. And what are we looking at in terms of revenue generated from that?
And again, we haven't budgeted for that, Mayor. Yeah. Last year we saw, I'm going to say between $30,000 and $40,000 of revenue come in that wasn't budgeted or expected.
That's good. That answers that. And thank you very much.
Moving on to the community services and facility operating budget. Kevin is excited to announce that our rentals are up in the arena, which is fantastic. That's a 28% increase over the prior year. They've introduced a lot of new programs. Kevin and Rebecca have done a fantastic job at bringing new ideas, new partners, new community users. So that's reflected there. We also have an increase of 3.6% budgeted in this budget for an additional $20,000 in revenue from other rentals. There is a one-time Appin Community Center proposal for $15,000 for the replacement of the rooftop AC unit, and Kevin is here to answer any questions that council may have on that. And any other questions, if you have them at this time, we'd be happy to take.
Kevin, it's great news, and congratulations on that. That deserves to be admired when you have an increase in revenues that much. Would you like to speak to that AC unit? Is to any degree, and when will that be? Should approval be made on this budget? What would be the approximate installation date on it?
Thank you. Yeah, through you, Mayor. The AC unit that will be replaced, or hopefully be replaced, it's the oldest one on the building. It's 20+ years old. We put multiple repairs into it over the last couple of years, and currently now the condenser is down, and they've put patch marks into the evaporator, which is an $8,000 part alone. So to kind of save on more expenses, for a new unit at $15,000 is a lot cheaper than $8,000 and $9,000 repairs here and there on an old unit.
Yeah, that's a fairly competitive estimate too. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Denise, continue on there. Oh, sorry, I missed you there. Mike, go ahead. Deputy Mayor has a question.
Just wondered why that rooftop AC unit isn't listed in the proposed capital budget.
Through you, Mayor
Yeah.
Mayhew, to Deputy Mayor, it doesn't meet the threshold of a capital item. It would be replacement based on the value. The value wouldn't meet the threshold defined, as well as it could be, but we chose to put it in the operating budget as it is a one-time expense rather than a capital item. That's just where we put it, and that's where I would expect to see it in the budget. But it also doesn't meet the threshold for capital definition. So currently, asset management requires us to include our buildings. Some municipalities are very aggressive with their asset management, and this would be included in the capital budget as an asset replacement. Our budget doesn't go that deep where we identify our buildings any deeper than the actual mechanics of the buildings. So some municipalities would have light fixtures that detailed. They would have similar HVAC units. Currently at this time, Southwest Middlesex does not do to that depth of asset management. So that would be why it wouldn't be a capital item for here.
Yeah. In the overall picture of facilities, that's not that much. So, yeah.
Great question.
And continue on.
Moving to Public Works operating budget. Water administration, if council has any questions on that, water administration is the rates are a standalone by governance through the province. And because we do not outsource it, the water administration, we do not outsource it. We have the privilege to charge the utility rates for the administrative costs that it takes for the finance team, for example, and public works staff to administer the water program in combination with Aqua. So we're able to charge a fee back to the tax rate as a credit to reduce. So it comes in as revenue so that the taxpayers aren't paying for the water and sewer administration side of the house. And it is the right thing to do. It is legislatively responsible, and it ensures that the people who use water and sewer, or the people who do not use water and sewer in the rural country are not subsidizing the tax rate for water and sewer administration. So that's just a bit of background of what that line is. Based on the Watson study, it does increase by 5.8% this year, and that's just an administrative cleanup based on the study, the 10-year plan that we have with Watson. We've also included as a one-time expense the Public Works building in Appin. There's a need to replace the overhead door panels. They're insulated panels, and the cost again is $15,000. And the same response would be applicable in this case, why it's not in the capital budget. And Mauro is here to talk about that. And then we also see the impacts of the recycling program at a net cost of $360,000 that is increasing our expenses in public works. Mauro's standing by to answer
bet.
anything on the app and building. And if there's any other questions, we'd be happy to take them.
Mauro, yeah, we're interested in that. I can certainly see the need of those doors to be replaced. Would you like to comment on that?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Through you to the council. Basically, we're just trying to make the building a little more energy efficient. Current panels on there now aren't insulated. We did upgrade some of the lights in there to LEDs. We anticipate it would be a minor cost because the tracks are good, the motor's good. It would just be switching out the panels at this point and would make the building more energy efficient.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, that's maintenance in that respect. Yes, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Just on the provincial recycling program, that 360,000, is that strictly to do with the change to the commercial collection?
Some of it is through you, Mayor. Some of it is, we have, council had endorsed using the commercial collection of the recyclables, so the cost is in there. That is the net effect. That's taking the loss of the $550,000 grant, applying it to the increase in expenses, and that's the net effect. Mauro, do you have anything more you'd like to add?
Yeah.
No, not at this point. I think you've explained it all.
Do we know how much more it costs for that switch for the commercial?
Yes, through you, Mayor. So in the last report that we did, we had an estimated cost around $50,000. At this point, of course, it's just an estimate until we actually have a year into it and actually know what the amount of tonnage is and what that cost will be. We'll have a better number at the end of the year.
And our contract comes up for renewal in 27.
So the contract is up in 2027,
Yeah.
correct?
That's correct. No, it's a significant
And
event in our
And as you
budgeting.
mentioned earlier, Mayor Mayhew, we're hoping that the province recognizes the impact to municipalities to put this change in year. Perhaps they're going to come back with a different solution, change the program, or have some sort of roll in effect so that the municipalities don't see the entire effect in 1 year. So we're hoping that our friends at the province identify it's the same problem amongst Ontario with the new recycling program. So we're really hoping that there could be some savings that can be brought through to the budget if those changes are found.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, go ahead, Councilor McGill.
Yeah, I just was looking at that, changes to the recycling too. So in a previous slide, I think it said, waste management contract, dollars change, 215,555. And then, but 149% change. And then this last slide, we're talking about 149% change, but $360,000.
Great question.
Why the
So
difference?
in this particular slide, we were talking on the Public Works budget slide, we're talking about the net effect of two programs, the revenue offset by the expenses. In the waste management, when we're talking about the actual waste management contract, there were changes as well in the contract that were provided by our friends that we have contracts with. So when we're talking about expenses, it will be a different number. It will be a different percentage, but that is the net effect of the impact of the programs of offsetting the entire budget. The recycling, in this particular case, it's recycling minus waste management expenses. In the first slide, it is the entire waste management budget. And then we've also talked about the waste management increase in expenses due to municipal decisions. So the number based on the conversation that we're having will change, Councilor McGill.
Yes, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, and we voted at a previous meeting, I think, to continue providing pickup of recycling
Yes,
to
sir.
businesses. And the province isn't going to give us a subsidy to help with that.
Not at that time.
Anymore?
I've been reaching out to the contacts that we have. And at this time, we don't, Mauro nor myself have reached anybody to ask those good questions, because I'm sure we're one of many municipalities asking that question. But currently, we just have the $50,000 increase to the expense.
Yeah,
and
because,
no offset for recycling credits.
because I know some other municipalities opted not to continue with covering that recycling, but it leads to a reduction in service to those businesses. But then I also know lots of businesses that for years have paid for all their own recycling and waste pickup, like for example, Cooper Standard. You go by there and you always see huge bins out front. And the treasurer there told me, we've always paid for all that ourselves, you know? And then I know farmers that have dumpsters and they pay for their own garbage pickup. So that's something we might have to
Yeah.
look at again another year.
I agree. The comparison, the Cooper Standard to say a pizza outlet is a very broad division in the requirements for waste. But I have also seen municipalities just rent 2 or 3 dumpsters and put them in certain particular areas for smaller businesses to dump their waste as well. But I think in my discussions with staff, this is a meat and potatoes, bare bones budget. We're trying to maintain our level of service and not reduce it, okay? And we're certainly not increasing it with these numbers, but we're trying to navigate around that change in legislation. And as both Denise and I agreed, we certainly hope the province comes through with some cash on it. Okay, thanks Denise for that pause there, and continue on.
So those are the highlights through the operating budget that staff wanted to highlight for council. The next slide is a summary of the capital budget items. And I'm wondering, Mayor, if what we should do is finish the slides, revisit, and then move to the capital as a whole.
Yep.
Is that what you would recommend?
I suggest that, and I just want to reiterate to council that there'll be lots of opportunity for questions, so make notes of them, and at the end of the meeting, we can certainly ask them. I've got some too I want to bring forth. Many of them are being answered, by the way, during this presentation, and I'm earmarking those. Thank you. Continue on.
So the next slide, that's just simply a summary, an easier page for council to review once we dig into the details of the capital budget. This is just simply a repurposed slide from the first meeting. Those are the rates that had been previously provided to me. I do not believe Strathroy Caradoc have finalized their budget, and I'm not super sure about Thames Centre, so I've left them with the numbers provided by the treasurers at that time. And if we move 2 pages forward, one of the items that council has become accustomed to is the rate scenario based on a $200,000 assessed property. That certainly isn't resale value. And I've updated those numbers with as the budget is presented today. The municipal tax rate would be 5.996. County stays at 3.87. I believe they are passing the bylaw next week. I've assumed school boards are staying the same, and that reduces the blended rate to 4.84%. That translates as a blended rate for a $200,000 assessed residential property at $160.29 increase for the year. And then I've broken it down by the upper and lower tier. You'll see that there is no school board amount in here at this time because I've assumed that the rates stay the same.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, Councillor Myers, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Hi, Denise. It says $200,000 residential property.
Assessed.
Yeah,
Assessed value. Yeah, it's always questions on that, Ed. Yeah, and but we have to use what impact gives us, and the impact are suggesting.
Correct.
Yeah.
That is correct. And what we could do, so $200,000 was what benchmarked council in previous budget years. I do, and I had increased that, and I struggled with it because if the council was to go back with 2025 or 2024, 2023 budget, it's always been 200,000. So I felt that it was important to keep the 200 for this year so that council could benchmark prior years rather than having to do the calculation of the conversion between 200 to 50. And it's important. It's also important to remember that 200,000 could be very close to the representation of the median for a residential property in Southwest Middlesex, not necessarily where we live.
And further to that, if each councillor examined their tax bill and what their assessed value is, it's substantially less than what you would ever sell your home for. So it doesn't make sense, but those are the mechanics we have to deal with. Yeah, but a good question.
We are looking forward to our leaders in the province to update the assessment approach. It's been since 2016, so we are looking forward to some communication, but I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we are looking forward to it, but I think there's going to be sticker shock is what there's going to be when they do. Taxes are going to jump substantially when they bring up the values of these homes. Yes, and not only that, this all came in during COVID, and there's a lot of municipalities, and I've questioned it too. It does that annual increase in assessment has helped municipalities garner more income, and we don't have that at present. Thank you. That explained that well.
So this brings us to the last slide in the PowerPoint presentation. Next steps from staff's perspective is to allow council to provide direction, discussion. We are looking for, we're hoping for today that if there's changes to the budget, if it could be voted on by council and provided through resolution to give staff direction for any changes that are required of the budget. So we are looking for that. At the last budget meeting, we had like a roundtable conversation, which was fantastic, but we would like to firm up with resolutions, as the mayor had pointed out at the beginning. And the resolution that we're providing for today is that at council, once the deliberation is finished and we have resolutions for changes, that we're hoping that the resolution as presented in your budget is that council will accept the budget in principle so that we can bring back a final tax levy bylaw at a future date.
Thank you very much, Denise. We'll soon open up to the horseshoe for questions. The chair's going to take the privilege of, I jotted down a few questions here. Many of these have been answered, Denise, and primarily the reason for this, some of these questions that I have are no doubt many of you have the same questions. So we'll just go through them very, very quickly. Overall budget context and tax rate. You've explained that well, Denise. You're currently at 5.99, and we brought that down from double digits, and I compliment staff for doing that. And the combined rate at 4.84. That's good. And you have worked this down significantly, and I'm just questioning what mechanics did you put in place to bring that down? What were the main actions that staff took to bring this down from 7 point something to 5.9? Some
question.
of the primary elements of that decrease were achieved at what?
So great question. So even before staff, when staff started deliberating months ago on the budget, or started preparing the budget, we don't deliberate. Well, sometimes we do between ourselves, but when we started preparing it, it was closer to the 10% of a tax increase based on prior budgeting practices. With fresh eyes and fresh motivation, we were able to bring that down to the 7.04. And what we've done in this past budget to get the $75,000 in reduction of expenses, as we move further into the year, we have better information through updated quotes. So we've built that in. We did go back, we did scrutinize all of the budget items that we had put in. We've removed some one-time requests. We've also looked internally at our reserves. Although we have some good work to do on external debenturing, the reserves will be replaced once that project is finished. So we have highlighted some areas in which we had identified as a taxation expense. We have brought those back into the reserves through the capital budget. So we've also done reductions there. And we've debated amongst ourselves through staff, and we've said, what are the priorities for council in 2026, and what can staff defer into a future budget year? And that's the thought processes that we've gone through in the past week and a half to find that $75,000 in reduction.
Thank you. That's good. Service levels. My question is in respect to that. Where does that put our future service levels? Are we decreasing them? Are we maintaining them? Or are we increasing them? It's important that ratepayers know why we increase taxes, and any reference you can make to service levels and how this budget applies to that would be interesting.
Sure, that's another good question. So at this time, it's staff takes directions from council for service level. That is something that council guides that conversation. So the budget that's being presented today is based on expected council service levels through prior conversations, reports, resolutions. So at this time, there are no service level decreases other than the change in the waste management where we've actually increased the service or maintained the service.
Okay, thank you. So you're saying this is bare bones, is that correct?
This is bare bones, keep the lights on, brick and mortar,
Okay,
whatever it is we want to call it. Staff has done it's been at the forefront. I'm a fan of putting the objective in front of me when we're doing a project. And the project was, what does the municipality require to operate this year? And that's what this budget reflects.
okay. The next one, utility budgets and timing. I think you answered that very well. First, they're rate supported and user pay, and we can expect that around March, first week of March sometime. We'll be discussing that, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Yep. External cost pressures and agency increases. This is almost 500,000, and I take it we have absolute no control over this whatsoever.
No, those particular costs we don't. We could. The only one that would be listed in there that we could take a look at would be insurance, because that is council driven, is insurance. I'm just going back to that slide. The Conservation Authority is independent. They set their own budget. The transportation for counties, I believe, is a negotiated contract that would be that's in there. Corporate insurance out of that list, but that's the only items that council would have control over.
Okay, thank you. That's good. And I'm getting to the end of this, Denise. Information technology budget increases. There's a great awareness of cyber threat. Many municipalities have been victim of this, and this is a practice of due diligence to put us in a position to be protected. Could you elaborate on that?
Sure can. So that is correct. Risk management, risk financial management is important. We would not want to become hostage to some sort of ransom deal where our information is taken from the municipality. And as we've heard in the news, other municipalities have had that problem. The Middlesex County does a great job with our firewalls, and they are a fantastic partner for us to be with. We've also sometimes folks look at the IT budget and they think it's extremely high. However, if we go back a few generations past, and we did a lot of our financial systems or our operational systems are to reduce costs and to reduce errors, and are in place for increased completeness and efficiencies. So if we were to, for example, remove our financial statement, our financial software, and go back generations ago where it was pen and paper, our labor costs would go up, our risk would go up, our room for error and our ability to report to council and other outside groups in a timely fashion would change. So even though we don't like the cost associated with software, the softwares that we have in place are required to increase those efficiencies and also allow staff to be more efficient at their job. So our budget is very much in line. I go through the budget with county every year, and these are good software packages that we participate in, and the county cost as a partner is reasonable. And if we were to go to an external contractor, we would see our consultant fees go up.
Yeah, thank you very much, Council. I'm sure you're aware that software packages are largely by subscription. So these are an expense that'll always be there. And they certainly have 6 figures in that expense now. And I brought it to the attention of IT at the county level many times, but it isn't a substantial expense, but it's almost unavoidable. Okay, Denise, I had a question on fire mark, but you and the chief have got that well explained. We appreciate you increasing our revenue on that by handling the initiatives on your own. Capital planning, just 2 more left here. Capital planning, I just wondered how the Watson and Associates review related to the water and wastewater infrastructure needs. Could Morrow or yourself comment on that? Again, capital planning, how the Watson and Associates review related to our water and wastewater infrastructure needs. Does the budget reflect the water and wastewater needs? Tough question.
No, sorry, I was being instructed by our clerk. Yes, so council will remember, I was not here when council was proposed or contracted with Watson Associates to do the water sewer rate study. At that time, what happens is Watson works with staff and works with partners to take growth rates. We take the growth rates, anticipated growth rates, we take the revenues, the cost to operate the system, because as council will remember, the utility budget is a self-sufficient budget, meaning that they account for their own expenses, their own revenues, and they create their own rates as well as capital replacement. The province has very strict guidelines when it comes to asset replacement and saving for that replacement. So that is a 10-year plan that Watson put before council and council adopted. And I believe we are in year two. And so those are, anything that affects our operating budget is conscript through the utilities budget. And it would not be fair for the taxpayer if they took on any expenses from the utility budget. And that's why it's a standalone document.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to rearrange some of these questions I have in context. I think it would make more sense. Impact and assessment context, that's been answered, but I think it's extremely important that Denise's reference to this really indicates the importance of growth. That had a profound effect at reducing our taxation from those double-digit areas. And so growth is exceptionally important. And Denise, we have an assessment growth by how much, approximately, if it's available?
4.78%.
Okay, so that's good. That's good. And hopefully that will increase as we have better infrastructure in Morrow's portfolio. Taxes by ward, awareness and transparency. We have 3 wards, 1, 2, and 3. Where does this revenue come from? And who leads it, so to speak?
Right. So thank you, Mayor Mayhew. That was brought to my attention that historically council has been interested in receiving that information. I can report the last time that you received it was 2023. So what I've done is I've taken our assessment portfolio and I've aligned it to Ward 1, 2, and 3. So currently the budget is looking for just over $8 million in spending. And based on the assessments of each ward, Ward 1 is 48.26% of the levy spending, which is 3.975 or 3,975,000. Ward 2, which is Glencoe, is 15.34%, which is 1.263 million. And Ward 3, Mosa, is 36.4 And that's 2.998 million of the $8 million.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, that'll come forth to council at another time, maybe in a pie chart or something like that would be
Happy to
Really?
do that, yes.
Yeah. useful, okay? Council, I'm just gonna pause there. Is there any, does that need to be repeated where this taxation comes from? I know you're all ward councilors, with the exception of Mike and I. Understood? Okay, and last one. The ability to reduce this tax rate further, and I hesitate to ask that question, but I'm just wondering if there's any options that we may look at. I'm thinking about as you stated earlier in your presentation, some of the tenders coming in are more competitive than we first thought. So we can save a little there. I want to give you an example of discretionary spending. We have chose to renovate the washrooms at Project 2000. Is there an option there that we can look at to bring this tax rate down further? I'm not saying, Kevin, don't get alarmed. I'm not saying to trash that. It has to be done. But is there mechanics that we could use to bring this tax rate down further by looking at that? We certainly are appreciative of the Lions donation. We couldn't do it without them, quite frankly. But I'm wondering if there's any other investment groups or other groups that we do business with to a very large degree. I'm not going to mention names, but we have many contractors and professional organizations that we do business with. And Jody, you're aware of this through your work through Canada Day. There might be money from them to apply to this washroom. And, hats off to you for bringing that to the Horseshoe quite a long time ago. But what are the options? Can we rewrite the music there?
Yeah, sure. Yes. Thank you, Mayor Mayhew, for that question. Once we dig into the capital budget, that's where staff has done most of the work, realigning to taxes versus other funding. Not necessarily debenture, but other funding. Other funding includes debenturing, it includes grants, it includes community involvement, and it includes reserve funding. So there are other options, and staff have been working with that Project 2000 because it is developing as in front of us, and that is one of the items that we would love to have council approval on the budget so that we can start contracting in that area should it be approved. It is in the capital budget for consideration for council. Currently, what council has in front of them was the cost of $100,000. We do have a contribution from the Lions. Senior leadership management have discussed what can we do to help increase the fundraising. Staff would look at reaching out to other community partners, other businesses looking for sponsorship for that particular project, and hopefully have other community partners that would reduce the request for taxation. But the largest news that just came in 2 days ago, so it's been impacted in this budget, is Kevin has reached out to contractors and has received better information on the budget. And at this time, staff do not feel that we will require the full $100,000, which is fantastic news. So I have in front of me on my budget, I have put that into place. So staff is looking at $65,000 is what the actual number for that project would be. We do have, we are budgeting an expectation of $30,000 from our good community partners, which includes the Lions and includes every effort that staff can make. And so that would leave the $35,000. When I look back at prior budgets and the Trillium application that the municipality put forward for Project 2000, at that time they had planned on using the Glencoe Recreation Reserve to offset the cost and contribute if they were successful. This is a smaller version of that grant. So I feel that it would be appropriate for council to consider using that reserve for the $35,000 rather than taxation. And then as we petition other community members, and if there's more fundraising, even the reliance on that reserve would be less. So in combination with Kevin's good work with getting quotes and reducing the cost, with changing it from being $35,000 through taxation and moving it to that Glencoe Recreation Reserve, it would bring the tax rate down to 5.433%, which is a considerable savings from the 5.996.
Yeah, that is good. I appreciate that. I know that tax rate increase may be unpalatable to some in terms of former years, but I realize the challenges that you have. I think what would be the target from the market on that? About $10,000 you'd be looking at an additional community givings towards that?
Staff will aim high and we'll look to have it fully funded from the community if we can, and minimizing the reserve, or should council decide to keep it in with the tax base, we would aim high for 100% community involvement, but the difference would be offset through the reserve.
Okay, that's it. Thank you very much, council, for giving me the privilege of asking those questions. I do suggest very strongly in terms of the option we have to bring that tax rate down from 5.7 to 5.9 to 5.4 would be to exercise the marketing aspects of requiring additional funds from other sources, and that would have to be a resolution of council, I believe, would it not, to do that? Okay, so the chair had asked like that as a resolution. Yes, Councillor Hagan, thanks for your patience there. Yeah.
Through the mayor to Kevin. How many quotes? I talked to some local people that live in the municipality for years here that do this kind of work. May be interested to maybe find something. Good question through you, Mayor. Right now I've received 2 quotes. So if all was said and done, I would obviously be reaching out to get more as part of our procurement policy. So I'd be reaching out to get a minimum of 3, and then I would be reaching out to other local organizations. And they,
Yeah, go ahead.
and they can find it on the website or probably. It would be posted on the website. Yeah.
And further to that, you have the option too to have a conversation with Kevin in his office with respect to that, which I think would be a good idea to put some names forward. And as Kevin indicated, it will be publicized as well. But we've come down a long ways. If we could get it further, it would be good to look at. That too could be part of the resolution too on that motion. Suggested what the option that Denise provided, and we may have some language in there that further estimates be obtained. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wondered, did we eliminate some of the work for the project 2000?
No, we did not.
Yep.
Not
Go ahead,
from-
Amanda, if you can add to that. Yeah.
Not from the previous budget, sorry, through you, Mayor, to Deputy Mayor. So from the previous budget that was provided, no. But council will recall that last year we also had an expenditure for project 2000, which was around $265,000 planned. So last year was a broader scope of work, working with our partners at the Lions and re-examining our needs at the facility. We did scope down the work. Previously, we had planned to, the large change is we had planned to remove masonry to make accessible with doors. As well as a few other upgrades, and those created a significant expense. Instead, we've worked with the Lions to still ensure accessibility for all of the washroom stalls, new partitions, everything, but we've scaled back that masonry work, which has had, and some path of travel work, which has significantly reduced the cost to the estimated budget of $100,000, and then now with the revised quote to $65,000, and of course, we'll work through that quote process. So I hope that answers your question.
I just specifically was wondering on the widening of the accessible sidewalk.
So that, yes, that scope has been removed. However, based on a previous conversation at council, we have We will be working with our Public Works team on their sidewalk replacement program to potentially see if we can incorporate an enhancement through that budget allocation.
It's gas tax money too, which is good.
So Mayor
Okay,
Mayor Mayhew, you had requested a resolution. Would you like that at this time for our clerk to form one for you, or?
Okay, I think we're very close to that point. Just to add, I think, Amanda, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was some discussion on that Project 2000 building, and that is our building. We've established that, yeah, so that is our building. Council, any questions? Yes, Councilor McGill, please go ahead.
On the capital budget, I noticed one thing that had been removed was asphalting Park House. And I asked staff why that was pulled out. And I just wondered if Mauro could update the rest of council, just so everybody knows why that was pulled out. Because it is something that needs done, but I think the idea was to just put it off for a year for a couple of reasons.
Yes, through the mayor council, we postponed that project because we've got 2 municipal drains that are going to be crossing that road. One is the Gardner drain and one is the Glencoe outlet drain. So we really didn't want to put the cost of upgrading it and new asphalt and then having to cut it up again in order for these 2 drains to cross. So we're just going to time it so that when these drains cross, then we'll come and do the reconstruction at that time.
Can I ask another?
Yes, by all means, Mark.
So
go
through
ahead.
the mayor tomorrow. So I think it's 830,000 in the budget to asphalt it, and that was recommended in the roads needs study. Would that asphalt it right through from Glencoe right through to, well, I guess it wouldn't be all the way to Melbourne Road because the last little bit is done already. Just the last mile or so is
Yeah.
done with asphalt.
It would be from Tower Road to the next concession, which I believe is it Tate's?
Tate's, yeah.
Yes, that would be the block that it consists of.
So you mean to say just to go one block is 830,000?
Well, no, if you look at the roads need study, there was 3 other projects on that list, which was in town for some asphalt work and some engineering work. But we anticipated that we'll just keep the project together and move it forward. So there are 3 other roads within town, smaller sections that need some asphalt work also. But we thought it's best to keep them all together because you get a better value for asphalt if you do them at once.
Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. So is there a reduction in this year's budget because of that change?
I would have to defer that to the manager of finance.
I think that'd be part of staff discussions, I believe, and I think.
No, because that work does not hit the tax base. It hits it hits other funding.
If we're not doing it this year.
It would be deferred. So it'll come back again in the 2027 or 2028 budget when it's appropriately aligned. But there is no change to the tax rates based on that deferral, but it is still on the, it will still be in the 5-year capital plan.
Okay, so it's on the radar. I'm just thinking, yeah, go ahead, Jody.
Just want to say that's good on you, Mauro, because there's nothing worse than do paving and fixing something and cutting it up.
You've seen it before, I know.
That's a great plan.
I'm just thinking, when I look at the calendar, spring where days are getting longer, weather's getting better. I'm thinking about this Project 2000. If council could put forth a new resolution on that to include the effort of additional fundraising on that, and as Councillor Hagan had alluded to, additional RFPs, proposals from other contractors, that it might be prudent to vote on that now so that we have it. And it'll put staff in a position where they can put their boots on the ground and move forward on this, because spring's coming. And I think in terms of contractors. So Colleen, I know it's asking you a lot, but could you come up with a resolution on that council might consider? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Project 2000 washroom, it would be to request staff to examine additional funding sources. And also to continue efforts on proposals. And Amanda, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to council. I think, if I may, just offer some suggestion that the resolution that may be put forward to council for this purpose could be that the proposed 2026 budget be amended as per the funding strategy outlined by the treasurer for Project 2000, and that the project be pre-approved and staff directed to receive additional quotes and begin the work as soon as possible. To that effect,
Yep,
of course,
that
our
sounds-
clerk would
it's
word
important-
that slightly better.
Important to have that presentation as amended. I see Colleen jotting that down as you reiterate that. Okay. So you're comfortable with that? Okay, yeah, that's good. Chair's gonna ask a question. Is there a mover for this? Okay, Councillor Hagan, is there a seconder? Councillor Myers, further discussion? Yes, Mark, go ahead.
So for quite a few years, I think there was no food booth in there, and last year there was. How's that proceeding for this year?
Good question through the mayor. I will be putting an RFP out again to have that contracted out again for the food booth.
Yeah, oh, well, that's good. And also, I'm assuming with this new scale of the Project 2000 repairs at 65,000, we're not going to need to get anything engineered. Would that be true?
That's correct. It's just your bare bones, your toilets, your sinks, your countertops, your partitions. There's nothing structural that's going to be
Because
changed.
maybe before with the 200 and some odd thousand that was originally proposed, with that work, maybe it was going to have to be engineered when you start, tearing out walls and making doorways bigger and things. Then they say, oh, you got to get that engineered, and it really puts the cost up.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion on the floor. It's been moved and seconded. Further questions or discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Carried. Okay. And again, reiterate to council that if anyone's opposed to anything, by all means, offer your suggestions.
So Mayor Mayhew, if I could provide an update, what that does with that resolution, thank you, council. With that resolution, it brings the tax rate increase down to 5.433% yes, 5.43%. And sorry, a blended rate of 4.49%. And again, I caution that's without tax increase for education. That's just upper and lower tier municipalities.
Okay, yes, Councilor McGill.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Mayhew. I've heard this budget described as a bare bones budget, but I really can't agree with that because there's in the capital section, there's a whole lot of stuff proposed, millions of dollars in expenses that's going to raise the taxes for years to come. Now, they're good projects, but I don't really think we should be referring to this as a bare bones budget when there's all that expenses, and none of this information shows the impact on future tax rates, because some of those capital items will be debentured over maybe 10 years. Other ones might be debentured over maybe 20 or 30 years, depending on what it is.
Yeah.
But it's good stuff, but it's expensive and it's going to increase future tax increases.
But had that debenturing been done at the time of those big capital projects, which would have been a good idea, it would have maintained us to keep the lights on, so to speak. there would be no difference whether we did it then or did it now. All right. It would, we have deferred this. I have talked to staff on that and I shared your opinion, but in conversations, quite frankly, and Amanda and Denise can correct me, but I don't think we have a choice in the matter. I think it's necessary in order to give us the working capital that we need to keep the lights on. It also, don't forget that much of that money will be reinvested. Okay, so there will be some additional income through those investments. Am I wrong?
If I can provide additional support with your answer, Mayor Mayhew, and Council McGill, that's a fantastic question. When we refer to the bare bones part of the budget, we're referring to the operating. It is status quo. So there's multiple parts to a municipal budget, which includes operating and capital. In the operating side, there are very little one-times that we've included as an operational. So that's when I refer to a bare bones, is the operational side. I also can further leverage that comment to a capital conversation. Staff is only introducing just over $3 million in capital spending for 2026. And the $18 million has been previously contributed through council decisions and deliberations of prior budget years and through other council resolutions. It's just these projects are going to be completed in 2026, which means we now need to find the funding of how we're going to fund those once we apply the grants and the reserve balances, and then we'll go out for debenture. Mayor Mayhew, you are correct. There are many ways to recover long-term debt, and I can confirm that with Council's decision to update their external debt policy and how they manage debt has been great news operationally. I can remind Council that there is just under $300,000 in interest charges for that debt, whether we do it through internal debenturing or leasing or other loans. So that is accounted for in the operating budget. I can also confirm that every municipality, I can confirm that a very large percentage of municipalities, lower tier municipalities in the province of Ontario, have a line item for those long-term debts. It would penalize the current constituents to pay for a large project that has a benefit over 10, 20, or 30 years. It benefits the tax rate through smoothing the tax rate increases based on capital infrastructure. What it does is it allows for that interest replacement and the recovery of that large capital project through future years where the benefit's going to be seen through the residents. Residents that are here today might not be here in 5 years, and in some could view it that they shouldn't pay for that capital infrastructure up front. So this does a great job at putting it into future year where that capital project will be benefit. So the capital budget is still, in my mind, a bare bones budget. Staff is only asking for an additional $3 million of capital spending, whereas the $18 million has been contributed from prior budget spending and prior council level of service and decisions made through resolution.
In addition to that, if I could, in my conversations with staff, if the growth that we envision and the new assessment that will be coming in through 3 major plans of subdivision, that debt could be retired much earlier than what you might think. And with smoothing out operations and that increased assessment, I think you will see, I can envision that debt will be paid down very, very quickly. Yes, go ahead, Mark.
I think the mayor and the treasurer misunderstood what I was saying because I wasn't referring, I'm not against the debenturing. I was just talking about all the things we're proposing to spend because those capital items, a lot of them are not necessarily things we would have to do. Maybe they're good things.
Could you give us an example of one?
Well, there's a lot, like, like I say, they're good things, but they're not things we're mandated to do.
Well, we're not mandated, but I think we at some point in time, we have to improve these public works
And as
projects.
far as the growth goes, that's just conjecture, that these subdivisions are gonna go ahead really fast, because I know one guy in the construction business told me, he said, Mark, all those developments you've got planned in Glencoe, it'll probably be 40 years before all that's done.
Yeah,
And I kind of agree with him on that.
there's
Look at how slow it's going now.
currently 6 homes going up behind the Gerber building there now. And, that's going to glean, $20,000 in taxation right there. And, don't forget that they are investing tens of millions of dollars in infrastructure. And some of those homes have been pre-sold on those lots, that there's offers of agreement and sale on houses that are not yet there. One subdivision had, I think, 9 homes that are already pre-sold. So that's something that you can consider. And it's not money we can count, but I think on the risk end of it, I think it can be with agreements to purchase and sale in place in advance of the development. I think that bears weight that some of this will come to fruition. Man, I'm sorry to keep you waiting there.
Thanks, Mayor Mayhew. No, I wasn't waiting, but I do have, but thanks for the opportunity because I will take it. And just a suggestion for council, since I think through Councillor McGill's comments in this discussion, we've already moved on to the capital budget discussion. And so perhaps we could more formally move on to that and entertain any questions or comments from councils and changes.
All right. Is there a motion on the floor though that we? Oh, no, not, it's not. Okay. Yes, we'll move on to that, but I'll ask Deputy Mayor to answer this question first.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. Just picking up on Councillor McGill's comments about some of these capital items maybe not being as necessary. I'm looking at the Wardsville Fire Station, and we have a diesel exhaust fan for 50,000, and it says identified as health and safety needs. I do believe that that's something we should be doing based on the health and safety needs. But as far as the drainage work on the outside of the building, I believe that we should be replacing the fire hall at some point in time. Yeah. And I don't think that we should be spending that money this year on the drainage. Yeah, I'd like to see that come out.
From a historical perspective, drainage on another budget in the past was considered.
I know.
Yep, and we turned that down years ago. You bet, and I'm sure you remember. Yes, go ahead. The only thing that I might add to that is that we do have water coming into that fire hall, and that poses a hazard. That's health and safety, and that floor gets exceptionally slippery at times. Amanda, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, through you to Deputy Mayor. Great point, and that's exactly the kind of comments staff are looking for about the proposed capital projects. It's not noted in your chart, but I did just want to clarify on that one point that the proposed drainage improvements at the Wardsville Fire Station are also considered health and safety. And I'm sorry if that's missing from the note. The reason being that the water is coming into the building. It's creating moisture in the floor, and it's preventing the trucks from starting. So it's impacting like response ability, but also the moisture in the building, potentially creating mold and problems of that nature. So, well, the challenge is that moving them out of there to where becomes a challenge. And as you alluded, there have been previous discussions on replacement of that hall. But to my knowledge, that's not a current priority. The municipality doesn't have land for that or funding arrangements. So even if that is the plan, I would anticipate that would take a few years to put together that financing and land acquisition requirement. And so that's why it is included in the budget as a health and safety item, because the interim needs of the station are considered a priority to continue our existing level of service. Relocating that station would create service disruptions, service level declines, and then certainly operational just challenges to address. And after we've reviewed those kind of options, the putting the expense and the capital project in the budget was the decision, because while it is an investment in an older building, from a health and safety perspective, it is considered a required one. I just wanted to provide that clarification on that note.
And further to that, this will raise people's dander, but I think at some point in time, a discussion has to be made about the Newberry Fire Department and the Warsville Fire Department are so close to each other that the response time is just in terms of a couple of minutes. So you're looking at 120 seconds. So that discussion may come forth in the future after this mayor is long gone. Okay, Councilor Haggett first.
So drainage, I mean, we have a road department, we have a backhoe, we have men. So running tile or something, why can't we do it ourselves? Is my question. If there's no reason why we can't.
Yep, Mauro can answer that, or man.
Thank you. I'm going to take it for Mauro, if that's okay. Through you, Mayor, to Council. So great idea, Councillor Haggith, and staff have also talked about that. The estimate we have in the budget is based on a contractor completing a majority of the work. However, I do know our manager of Public Works and our manager of Community Services and Facilities have spoken about potential opportunity for staff to complete some or all of the work. So that is something we will look at, but the budget number indicates what we know will cover the work that's required, and we will absolutely make effort to complete things internally and save money as much as we possibly can. And it does look like Mauro has an addition to my comment.
Yes, just further to that, we just need to understand what the scope of work is. Ideally, we don't know where the outlets are going to be or where it's going to tie into or how that drainage is actually going to work to see if even our department can do that work. So I think we need to first assess the situation, determine where that water needs to go and how it's going to get there, and then we can determine if we can provide some assistance.
Mayor Mayhew, can I
Go ahead, yes.
add some more information? That is currently not coming from the tax base. We're proposing that comes from reserves for that exact reason. We don't know what the scope of the project is at this time until we get in there, but it is proposed coming from reserves. And my second question, I hear Councillor McGill, his comments are important. I'm wondering if it's more efficient for council to start at this year's capital projects rather than jumping from one project to
Yeah,
another.
I think that,
Would that suit
yeah,
council
I
better
think so,
that we
yeah.
start at the top?
You bet.
And because there's not that many of them, we can continue the debate on the Wardsville drainage. I think it's fantastic, but I would not want to lose sight of Councillor McGill's comment and create efficiencies.
looking at the clock, I think we should move forward. I do want to have two more, the privilege of extending the courtesy to Deputy Mayor to ask this question, followed by Councillor Myers.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. This question is for Mauro. It's for the Glen Cooperation Center improvements. I see the price here of $570,000, and I'm just wondering how you came about that figure, the quotes. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is we've had some other projects in the past that have had quite substantial overruns. So what is the guarantee that we're not going to have the same here?
Through the mayor, there's never a guarantee with projects. We do our best in order to estimate these projects based on current construction values. With this project, there will be some engineering that is going to be required, and obviously we will have to go out to tender. We based this price on previous projects on the construction cost index, commercial prices. I worked with the chief building official to get a rough estimate based on current construction values. But until we do the design, we dig a little bit deeper into it, understand what type of material we got under the ground, and we actually get the design out. We'll have a better idea of what that construction value would be. I did my best efforts to come up with a number based on the information that I have.
One follow-up.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. That doesn't sound really assuring, to be honest with you. Also, it says phase 2 and 3 following this. I really think that we have to prioritize a fire hall in Wardsville. And if we support phase 1 here, does that automatically mean that we're going to move on to phase 2 and 3, or could we stop at that point and look at some other projects? I'm just
So,
worried about a
Morrow's
long-term
head
commitment.
moving there, and I'll let Morrow discuss that.
Yes,
I,
no, thank you through
I
your Mayor.
don't, yeah, I don't
We
share
don't,
that.
we can stop at I phased the project in order for council for budget wise, because it was instructed to me at that time. Phase 2 is basically the cold storage phase, insulating it, putting some heat in there in the concrete floor. If council chooses to stop at phase 1, that's council's decision.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, and Councillor Myers is next on the list there.
Mayor, I know we have a master fire plan, and just talking about Wardsville here. We don't know when this new building is going to be built. 5, 10, 15 years, who knows? I think we should be doing these upgrades myself. And as far as the Glencoe Fire Department goes, just a proposal. The fire chief needs a vehicle. This is a priority. After what he went through on Saturday, bringing his white truck over there, they probably never seen him. But anyway, the bunker, I would like to defer that, and I would like to defer the paving there. Just an opinion.
That could be considered. I would be I think I would be interested in the paving aspect of it. The bunker gear, I'm a little concerned about from the health and safety. I don't want to get in naming names, but the health of some of our firefighters has been compromised because of the intake of certain carcinogens following fires and on bunker gear. So we can
Mayor
let the chief-
Mayhew,
yeah.
if I can point out that those 2 items have been deferred, they're proposed, but staff do agree that they could be for deferral. We do
All right.
agree with you.
Yep, the chief has always been good in that respect.
I agree. We've had this discussion here and we looked at that. And yeah, they could both be deferred.
Okay, that being the case, Denise, that would have further implications on lowering the tax rate, is that correct?
No, sir.
There wouldn't, okay. 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 All right. Would you be pleased to make that a motion, Ed? The pavement and the bunker gear.
I'd like to make a motion to defer the bunker gear at the Glencoe Fire Department and the paving.
Okay, is there a second?
May I confirm? There's three topics for deferral that all have to do with the fire hall. Are you looking to defer all 3? So that's project 26, 14, 15, and 16.
Oh, I didn't.
What's the
I
third
didn't-
one? What's the third one?
You mean the windows there?
Yes, is that also, because currently we have that proposed as not an immediate need. So it's just 26, 15, and 16 you're looking for a deferral, Councilor Myers?
Okay, yes, is there a second for that? Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, I'd be in favor of deferring those, although I don't know whether I'll get in trouble for saying this, but there might be some other funding coming sometime this year that we could use to actually go ahead with that without it being debentured or going to the tax base.
Yep, and that can be brought forward to council if that materializes. Okay, Councillor McGill, you said you'd be in favor for that motion on the table by Councillor Myers. Would you second that? Okay. Motion's on the table. Last call for questions. All in favor? Carried. This gives staff direction, okay? That's what they need. And everyone's had the opportunity to get those questions in. I think at this time, Denise, we'll go back to that capital and we'll go through it, okay?
Sure, fair enough.
And just give us a reference on a page number, please.
So it's your large pieces of paper that fold out where the capital detail is. So it would be page 23 and 24. So it's after 22 in your,
I don't have the updated sheets. Like they're on here. Nope.
Counselor McGill, you arrived later. Did you get your updated mail?
Well, I looked in my slot a day or two ago and there wasn't anything there.
It was there. I
Yeah.
put it 2 days ago.
That's it right there, isn't it?
Okay, well, it's on here too, though,
Yes,
right?
it is.
So I'm looking at it on here. I'm
Fair.
okay.
I was just gonna say, we could take let's take a break. I don't have my watch on. 8-minute break, okay? Okay, can you grab a time reference? Oh, I got my phone, yeah. Okay, 11:10, okay?
Okay, well, I don't know whether my
About dollars and I get all
I
excited,
know,
Mayor.
I know. I
It
know.
is my favorite subject.
That's why I said I could see the dollar signs in your eyes. Listen, we're gonna go through the capital. This is extensive, so we're gonna have to be, both council and our treasurer and the mayor are gonna have to be very efficient on this, okay? Because we'll have to go through it with a certain degree of speed, but we don't want to let anything get missed. So council, feel free to bring something to the attention, but let Denise have a shot at getting through this.
We just
before-
get our starting rate, where we're at.
Okay, we're at page 23 on the agenda.
So Mayor Mayhew, Deputy Mayor just asked for a reminder for council after the break that our starting rate currently is 5.433%. Not as in the presentation.
That's good news. Thank you, Denise.
And every percentage is 8,000.
Approximately, yeah, a little higher than that.
Approximately, have that number here. So a tax increase is 143,000. Levy spending, which will affect the tax decrease, is 74. So we have to find $74,000 in spending and 143 to reduce one entire tax rate.
We could just get some clarification. There's a little bit of mix up on that last one with the fire hall. Which items, when we're going through it, will affect the rate and which ones are not?
Correct, and that's why I propose that we start at the top. So currently, the conversations that would affect the tax rate is project 26-1. 26-9, that project 2000. 26, 26-10, the Wardsville Fire Hall diesel exhaust fan. Currently, those affect taxes. Correct. I don't recall, did we put in the resolution to move it from taxes to reserves? Was that in the resolution? So that's the reason with the amended value. Yes, yes. So that still is on the table as a tax conversation.
Okay, do you need a motion to that effect to
No,
clarify?
no,
You're
it's
okay?
just, Mayor Mayhew, if we could, if we start at project 26-1, unless council has conversation to add in regards to the 25 multi-year carryover budgets, those are all committed. We have shovels in the ground. We have funding in place with grants. Unless council would like to talk about the current projects that are carrying over.
I'd like to get into 26.1, 2026 priority.
Fantastic.
And we'll
So
move on there, I think, for the efficiency of time and the importance of the projects.
fantastic. So project, sorry, Amanda?
At the end of each item.
Okay.
We move on.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes,
We'll
100%.
allow,
Yes.
We'll allow all councilors to ask questions, and
So the first,
one question will follow up to be the maximum. Okay, wayfinding signage, you've got a grant on this, I understand, and you've matched that, and I think there's gonna be further study on that as well, and hopefully there'll be applications for additional grants to come through to complete that project. Go ahead, you lead it, Denise. And Amanda, if there's anything. Yeah, sounds good.
I had just one quick
Yeah,
question.
go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. Just to clarify on it, am I understanding right that we need to spend this money to be eligible for future funding on the signage? Am I understanding that correctly?
That's my understanding, yes. The municipality could apply without completing this grant and this project as proposed in the budget. The municipality is eligible to apply to future iterations of the same grant, but without a plan to support where and what the signs being proposed would be, I think the likelihood of being approved for future grants would be much lower.
And this is through the county, correct?
No, great question. This funding is through the Rural Ontario Development Program, which used to be called the Rural Economic Development Program, RED. It's with 50% funding. The county is also undertaking a wayfinding strategy right now as well. So there are some, it's timely for us because their updated branding and information would be incorporated into ours, and they would be a stakeholder in our study as well.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, no further questions on 26-1. Denise, if you can convey that question to council following your reiteration of these lines here.
Sure,
You asked
there.
council.
So the next project on the current budget is 26-2, and that is the pickup truck for the fire department. Any questions?
Okay. Okay. Yeah, Chief, could you speak to 26-2 updates on the valuations?
Yes, thanks, Amanda. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So yeah, we did pricing. Basically, we looked at a 1500 series truck compared to a 2500 series truck, and the difference between the two ended up being $6,000, which was a huge deal. We also looked at revisited the conversion kits, and we were able to knock $10,000 off of that just to deselect some of the equipment that came with that conversion kit. Just for information. The recommendation is for the 2500 series truck, just because of the expected weight that we're going to carry on the truck. It is an emergency response unit. It's not just the chief's truck. It's actually an emergency vehicle. We're going to carry a bunch of stuff on it. So yeah, it's identified as an operational fire apparatus that would adequately be equipped to make an immediate impact on life safety and property conservation with the first arriving unit. That's what it's designated as. And the 2500 series meets the expectations for onboard equipment, fire suppression and rescue equipment, and first responder weight.
That's 4-wheel drive, I presume, is it? Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay.
2500 series also gives us added ground clearance to 11 inches. So for the muddy and snowy conditions, if we have to go through fields. Also, it is recommended that the emergency trailer, the county emergency trailer, only be towed by a 2500 series truck.
Yeah, understood. Take it away, Denise.
Any other questions on item 26-2? Moving on. Project 26-3, Trillium Landfill Monitoring Well. That's budgeted at $50,000 and expected to come from reserves. Any questions for Mauro?
Yes, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. Just wanted to clarify, has the Ministry of the Environment asked for these wells?
Through the mayor to deputy mayor, that's correct. That's a recommendation from the ministry in order to ensure that there's no seepage onto private lands.
Okay. They've recommended it.
Correct.
Yep. Okay. Good.
Yes, Councilor McGill.
Yeah, through the mayor tomorrow. I don't know whether you want to answer this question here or not, but whose property is it going on? I think it's not going on our property. It's going on a neighboring landowner's property.
You don't have to identify the name, Laurel.
No, through the mayor to Councilor McGill, that's correct. It's going on the neighboring property, about 30 meters onto their property, based on the recommendations from the ministry.
Okay, sounds good.
Moving on to project 26-4, it's the T2 single axle truck replacement. It's budgeted for $465,000 and expected to be funded through the ventures. Any questions?
Just a note to council that the truck is replacing the frame is I believe cracked and it's unable to be safety. So we must keep those up.
Seeing no more questions, project 26-5 pickup truck Replacement, pickup 4 replacement for Public Works. It's the patrol truck, $75,000 with that being funded through reserves. Any questions?
Okay, I don't see any hands. Go on.
26-6 sidewalk replacement program. This is an annual contribution. It's $150,000 proposed this year. And staff will do its best to find the dollars in reserve, but it is being proposed through the ventures. Any questions?
I see no hands. Move on.
26-7 roadside mower replacement. This is an end-of-life product purchased in 2005. It is the estimated cost of $50,000 to be funded through reserves.
Yeah, council, any questions? Seeing none, move on, Denise.
26-8 roads need study. Again, this is an annual capital item as per the approved plan. Council had requested that staff outline the proposed areas this year, and Morrow's department has further included whether it's construction or engineering, and that would be proposed through the venture. And that's for $830,000 this year. Oh, sorry.
See ya. Marcos is removed.
That's
Yeah.
deferred to 27. Sorry, I apologize. So I have the wrong sheet. 26, let me just pull up my capital budget. I apologize.
So thanks, Denise, while you're doing that. So this is the project Councillor McGill asked a question on earlier and Maura spoke to. This project is one that we've deferred to 2027 by staff's recommendation because it is there are drain crossings, 2 being completed on the same road this year as part of the Gardner and Glencoe outlet drain. One crossing, my apologies, 1 crossing.
Yeah, 3 others, McCray, Sims, and Lovell.
Yes, I'll defer that tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mauro. With respect to
Yeah.
those, with respect
you.
to those 3 streets.
Yes, so the Park House has the Gardner drain that's crossing over. We also have the Glencoe outlet drain that's going to be crossing over. That's at the lower end, but we anticipate that construction to be engineering will be in 2026, construction in 2027. So we're going to see what kind of timing we have in 2027 to incorporate that. But McRae, Symes, and Lovell, those do require upgrading surfaces, but because we have water and wastewater under the ground, we wanted to do some engineering on that, because if we're going to remove that surface, we want to make sure the infrastructure is good underneath. So we were proposing to have the engineering done this year or with this project, and then before we remove the surface and redo it.
If that's effective, yep. Less disruption.
So just to confirm Morrow's comments, we are proposing that the engineering also be deferred to 2027.
That's correct.
Yep, well, thank you for that.
So this entire project will be deferred to 2027
Okay,
based on staff recommendations.
good.
So I believe on your sheet, the next project is 26-9. Is that correct?
Yep.
Perfect. Project 2000, we have a resolution in front of us for that, and that was for staff to be, that was the approval of the project, and that staff continue to keep at the forefront of their minds the cost, work with community partners for quotation, and currently that is being taken from taxes. That's where it could be updated to the $35,000 rather than the tax base of the 50. And staff will continue as we find community partners and perhaps additional fundraising options that would be reduced and come from reserves. That's how we got to the 5.443. The 5.4. So that is the change, and that's how we reduce the tax rate already. So council, I believe, has taken care of that one. The next one is item 2610, the Wardsville Fire Station diesel exhaust. That currently is estimated at $50,000, and currently we have it coming from taxation for $50,000. Any questions on that? I know we spoke earlier about health and safety. If there's any additional conversation.
Yes, go ahead, Mark.
Do we not put, I think it's 100,000 a year into reserves for the fire department?
Yes, that is correct, Councillor McGill. And so we could use the contribution from this year for this asset replacement, or we can continue to contribute to the reserves. Currently, that contribution is for the future fire hall. But council certainly could use this year's contribution to that reserve for this expenditure.
Well, I think that's something we could consider, is using the reserves and then taking that $50,000 off the tax base.
Councilor McGill, good point made. The chair would like to clean these up as we go, so there's not a lot of house cleaning at the end. Would you make that a motion, Councilor McGill?
Sure, I'll make that a motion.
Is there a seconder for that? That we can take that out of the reserve? Okay. Councilor Myers, any further discussion? Yes. Councilor Schuldeis?
This is the fire hall reserve, the future fire hall reserve we're
That is
talking about.
correct.
How much is in there now?
In the reserve,
Yeah.
not as much as council would expect. Hold on one second.
But we were gonna put 100,000 this year into that reserve, is that correct?
We were putting 50,000 into equipment for future equipment, which is going to contribute to that deferred item of the bunker gear storage room. And currently, as of 2024, the Wardsville Fire Hall has $200,000 in reserves. So this would be, we did 50,000 last year, so this would put it at 300,000 in reserves for future fire hall replacement.
And, in the future, when that fire hall is built, whenever, and it will be a long time, we're not gonna keep that existing building, we're gonna sell it. And, we have to have it maintained to some degree. Okay, there's a mover and a seconder for that. Councilor Meyer seconded that. Colleen, last call for questions. This will come off the tax rate.
May I confirm, from my understanding, that Councilor McGill is putting on the table is that we use this year's $50,000 contribution to the Wardsville Fire Hall Reserve and use that funding to fund the diesel fan.
That's my understanding.
So this will now move to reserves. The 50,000 will be saved through the operating budget through the transfer to the annual commitment fire hall replacement. Is that, as I heard it?
Yep, I hope so. Yeah, Colleen, you've got that? Yep. Councilor Haggett?
So there's 50 more gonna go in the reserves?
No, we would use our allocation this year from the reserve allocation. We would use that to fund this instead.
Okay.
So the tax reduction would be $50,000 from this. And if you bear with me 1 second, I can tell you the impact if you'd like.
That's what I'm saying. I was just trying to understand, because I said you might as well throw the other 50 towards the drainage work and spend 100,000.
We've already proposed in the budget that we can find the reserve money from that for this. So it'd be $100,000 coming from that.
Yeah.
So we've already proposed that.
No effective taxation on the drainage. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, councilors, for moving and seconding that. Colleen, how are you doing there? You're okay with that? All right. Thumbs up.
May I update council on the proposed tax rate? If that is voted on, the tax rate would go down to 4.793% and the blended rate would be 4.08.
Sounds good. We're getting there. Okay, chair's going to call the question so we can move on with additional capital. All in favor, please raise your hand. Carried unanimously. Okay, thank you. Staff have direction on that and move on.
Project 26-11 is the drainage work, which we've already had conversation. The estimate is $55,000 partnering with contractors and staff. The budgeted amount is $55,000 and we've already recommended that it comes from the reserve funding. That would utilize some of that $200,000 that is in the fire hall replacement.
Oh, Mark, we'll
Yeah, I think Andrew Neely could probably help with this, because as I recall, when council talked about doing this work 5 or 6 years ago, it's been a problem for a long time. I think Bob Hanson was the fire chief at the time, and he consulted with an engineer. I think we spent a fair bit of money on engineering maybe, and then nothing happened. And it didn't really look like it was that complicated of a job. There's an alley there beside the fire station. You know, the water comes down off the hill. This alley gets all plugged in full of snow, and then there's water 2 feet deep laying out behind the fire hall. And the generator was totally underwater at times, which is really bad for a generator. Does it still work?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councilor McGill. Yes, it does work, but we've put a lot of money into it in the last 3 years.
Yeah, probably because when it goes underwater, that's really hard on it.
I can confirm that. Yes.
Any other questions from council on that project?
Yep, one.
Just
question.
one quick point. When this came back years ago through council, it's a matter of finding out where to get rid of the water is what's going to be the expensive part. I really don't think 55,000 is going to touch this, but that's
Mauro,
based
would-
on what's
would you
happened
like
in
to
the
comment?
past.
Yes, as I said before, we need to understand, where this water is going to go, and we need to evaluate that in order to determine if that's something that we can assist with. Until we look into it and figure out where this water is supposed to go, I think we'll have an answer at that time.
And if I can further add, Deputy Mayor, that's why we've proposed for it to come from reserves rather than from taxes, because we don't know what the entire project entails. There will be no tax implication at this time. And as we have better information, we'll bring back more details for council to deliberate on at that time.
Okay, slide.
The next project on this year's spending is 2612. That's a Glencoe Operations Center Phase 1 only for 570,000. We do have gas tax that we could use, and we could potentially look at using more gas tax for that funding. It's now called CCBF. I shouldn't call it gas tax, but that's how we think of it. And it's the balance would be debenture. Any questions further than the conversation we've already had?
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Mayhew. I just wondered how long will this be debentured for and how is it being financed?
We would look at 30 years, the maximum useful life of the bricks and mortar. So we would look at as far as we can debenture, 30 to 40 years if we could. And then it would be through my recommendation at this time would not be through a bank loan. Bank loans don't go as far out in amortization. This would be a fantastic candidate for Infrastructure Ontario funding to maximize our rate.
Yeah, and more competitive rate, and we always have the option of paying it over. Go on. Yep.
The next project is through rates, through the utilities. That is the Stella Sanitary Pump Station. That is projected to be 518,000, and that as well would be debentured at the time of completion. And again, we would definitely look at the maximum. So this is just Southwest Middlesex share. It's not the total cost of the project. Thank you, Mayor, for reminding us that. And this would also be a fantastic candidate through the life of the building to maximize the exposure to the rates. This does not affect tax rates at all. Any questions?
Yes, Mark, go ahead.
Through the mayor to Denise, sanitary sewer expenses don't get charged to the tax base, do they?
Not the tax base. They get charged, they get recovered through the utility rates.
Yeah, so this amount would potentially affect utility rates.
It's already budgeted in the long-term plan. It is a project that was started in 2025. And it is already in the long-term plan for asset replacement, and this would be considered new development through the rates, yes.
It was already being built for. That answer your question, Mark?
I think so. I was just thinking, yeah, Stella, okay.
When we're thinking about rates and asset replacements or new development, the rate study will have assumed that the project is being debentured, which is the best solution for large increases year over year in the tax rates.
Okay, I think we can move on to 2614.
2614, staff is proposing can be deferred, should council wish. It's the Glencoe Fire Hall's doors and windows. And we have that as debenture, but I also believe that we could find that through reserves if council wishes to add this to the 26 budget, or we can defer it to the 27 deliberations.
Any questions? Yes, Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Just wondered if we could get the chief's opinion on the windows and doors, where they're at.
Thanks for your question. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Deputy Mayor. So the doors are in very bad shape. The windows probably could wait for a little bit. The doors are wind damaged and the frames are damaged. We'd like to see them replaced and hinged in a different manner, different sides, so that the wind doesn't catch them.
1,000 will definitely cover it.
I'm going to defer to Kevin for this. I think Kevin got the quote on this.
Okay.
Yeah, through you, Mayor, to Deputy Mayor, 20,000 will cover the rehinging and the door frames. Yeah.
I'd like to include that if we could, just the windows and doors and maybe the other two out.
And Deputy Mayor, would you propose that we staff find it in the reserves, the current reserve structure, or would you propose that that's added to the tax base this year?
Reverse. Yes, I will.
Yeah, we can look at that and get all the main pricing on the doors. And then if there is additional funds there, the 20,000, we can continue with the windows. Absolutely, yeah.
And do we
Yeah,
have a,
staff will examine the need for windows and make a decision. Council have reiterated that we realize the importance of the doors. They must be done and possible and defer the windows.
so we
okay.
have a seconder by Councillor Emery. Do we have a vote?
Yes,
I-
we
sorry, I was just
have. Yeah,
catching
it's
up
been
where
moved
we
by
were.
Deputy Mayor
Okay, thank you.
Schuldice, seconded by Councillor Emery. And last call for discussion.
So.
Yep.
As I see it, the only change here is it was in here that we do the doors and windows at the Glencoe Fire Hall and it be debentured. Now it's gonna come out of reserves
We will find
instead.
it from reserves, correct?
So it really isn't changing the tax rate for this year at all, but
No,
yeah.
So no ramifications on the tax rate on this then? is
no,
that
that's correct. We would still sit at 4.79.
Okay, that's fine. I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried. And we'll move on.
That's it. The 2615 and 2616 have a deferral in that has already been voted on through council, and those will go to 2017 deliberations. 27, sorry. Wouldn't that be grand if we could do the past decade over again?
Yeah. So does that conclude the capital budget?
That includes the capital
Okay.
budget. So that gives us direction, and the tax implications have been documented. And if there's no further council conversations on the operating budget, that would allow council to accept in principle the budgets as presented and updated today through resolution, and our tax rate would sit at 4.793.
4.793. Okay. Council, there is a recommendation before you, and it has been adjusted to reflect that decrease in levy, 4.73. Chair at some point has to deal with that recommendation. Is there anything else on this budget? Revenue really doesn't need to be discussed intently, or should it be? You want to look at that or make any comments on revenue?
Council or through to council, staff has scrutinized. When we're budgeting for revenue, we budget for the worst and continue to negotiate through grant finding, partnerships, and savings for or increased revenue rentals. So revenue is really hard for staff to budget for outside of contracts. But our hope is throughout 27 in-year revenues that is increased, providing for a surplus deficit if one should arrive, or surplus should one arrive, and then staff would propose that if there is a surplus, it be transferred to reserves for the next year deliberations.
We certainly hope, council, there may be revenue streams coming that we are unable to announce at this time or expect, but I compliment the applications that have been submitted to date, and we have done very well on acquiring grants and many millions of dollars, much to the credit of our CAO. Okay, and we also additional revenues, if council ever gets to it, the charges on building charges will bring in additional revenue as well.
Yes, we did update our fees and charges bylaw for cost of living, so that revenue will also be captured and has been captured in the budget.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, there's a recommendation before you that the budget be accepted in principle with the tax rate increase reduced to 4.73%. What's the blended rate on that? Can you tell me?
4.088
4.088.
outside of any school board
Okay,
increases.
yeah. Okay. Yes, Councilor Myers.
If council wishes,
Yeah,
staff is
yeah,
ready
sure.
to
Yeah,
have that
no problem. We can
conversation.
defer it. Yeah, let's defer that motion and we'll hit that at no problem. Yeah, go ahead. What line are you on?
We'll go back to page 18 of 55. And that is in the operating budget of your governance. I do have some staff updates. One was my inexperience with Southwest Middlesex, and I have corrected the operating budget. I didn't realize that the Glencoe Agricultural Society rent was a ongoing contribution. I have now updated the budget, and that is in the new budget numbers, and that has been put back into the council grants. So the 20,000 has been there. The other thing that I did not do, and I have updated it, is the $10,000 that council had finished the contribution for the hospital is in another line. So I have updated the savings. I've removed the duplication. And so that is also in 2026, and it has been updated. And I have also, through the request of council through the last budget, have included what was approved. And Councillor Bink, you had brought up a fantastic conversation and went back to the 2025 budget deliberations and resolutions. And at that time, the feral cat program had been voted by council to be removed. And the $1,000 was inserted in the 2025 resolutions that the 4 schools in Southwest Middlesex be allocated the $1,000 to be split equally. And I have updated that as well. So that is a consideration for council again for 2026 to include the contribution to the 4 schools in their healthy snack program. And that has also been updated in this budget.
Okay, thank you. And Councilor Myers, go ahead and ask that question.
Yeah, just wondering here, is the 4 counties community villa part of our community service and facilities?
I don't believe so, but we have given it in the past.
So
Any comment on that? What are we proposing to give them? Is it
it's like $7,400.
yeah. How much? Yes.
Yeah, and if I could comment on that too, 4 Counties Community Villa would be in Newbury, right? So couldn't we spend that money in our own municipality? Because we do have some, for example, London Housing has a unit in Melbourne, and then they have one in Glencoe too, to provide lower income housing. I don't know whether we ever contribute to that. They're not asking in this case, but yeah, I think even though Four Counties Community Villa is a great place, it's not in our municipality.
And we fund transportation at the hospital as well. I believe, and yeah, Ed, go ahead.
Can I make a proposal?
Yep.
Like
If you get a
50%,
sec- if you
like
get a sec-
50%?
Yeah, that would clarify the numbers on that.
So the request is 7,400.
Yeah.
So that would be a reduction in the grant by $3,700.
Okay, would you make that a motion, Ed?
I would like to make
Okay,
that a
is there
motion.
a second for that? Councillor Haggett? Any questions? Yeah.
No.
All right, I'll call the question. All in favor? Carried, all opposed? Carried.
The two grant applications that are new this year are the Glencoe District Lions Club and the Murray Cemetery. They were not specified, but I can confirm that the Murray Cemetery is for reimbursement of 75% of their insurance. So the $324 is in line with what I've had conversations with the caretaker, and they would like to also be considered for that 75% of the insurance bill to be recouped.
It's quite a pretty cemetery, actually. Okay, yep,
What about Oakland Cemetery? I think we normally reimburse them 75% of their insurance costs, the same as we do with the other independently run cemeteries in Southwest Middlesex. But I don't see they're on the 2026 request list.
they have been advised, have they not?
I see my CIO would like to answer
Yeah,
that
go ahead.
question.
Yeah,
Thanks, Denise. Thank you, Mayor, through you. Yes, that is correct. So this year, again, everyone who has previously received funding was notified of the grant application process, and only the applications that we received this year are included in this spreadsheet. So if they didn't apply, they aren't on the spreadsheet. And I would also note that just for council's information, I know we do have a past practice of funding cemeteries that is long established. Our council grant policy does specifically exclude the funding of cemeteries. Just if we continue to do it, it might be a policy update. You might want to direct staff
okay, no
to do.
problem. And I know that loggers have been advised without reply.
I
Okay,
can confirm that the Oakland Cemetery has been in touch with me this week, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
have requested that the same mechanism be in place by council, and they confirmed they did not apply through a council grant. But they have come forward and hoped that council would include them this year.
Okay, what did we give them last year?
$948, and this year the expense would be $954.99.
Council, let's get this off the table. What's your wish on Oakland Cemetery? To convey the grant? Oh,
So I think we discussed before about the cemeteries that they do it to help with insurance, right?
well, it boils down that, we want them to remain viable or they end up under our administration.
Well, this is my point, right?
Yeah.
So how do we have to change it if we wanted to say the cemeteries in Southwest Middlesex gets this amount of dollars every year if we're gonna do it?
I think,
I'm just throwing that out there.
I think it's good that they apply. I think it's better for staff. Yeah, Deputy Mayor.
Or just if we could get a report maybe in the future on the changes that would need to be and all of the cemeteries that could be included, just so that we know what kind of expense we could be looking at if we decide to do this.
There has been, yeah,
I didn't realize the policy didn't state this is news, so.
well, it's been in effect in Southwest Middlesex for a very long time. Yeah, very long time. And we have had a request through staff that they have been they have been contacted by Oakland Cemetery that they ask that they be provided the same grant for insurance purposes. What's council's wish? Yep. Move it. Okay, is there a second? Councilor Gray. All in discussion
Before you vote, may I confirm what the resolution is?
at the request from local cemetery for 900 some odd
So-
dollars
Yes.
be approved by council. There has been a mover and a seconder for that.
Thank you.
Okay, it's a very large cemetery. It is probably more numerous grave sites than many combined. Yeah. Is that where you're going, Jody? Yeah, me too. I got a condo out there. It says room for two and no furniture. Okay. All in favor, please raise your hands. Carried unanimously.
A
Yeah.
quick question on the Lions Club. Are you waiting to be heard, contacted from the Lions Club, or just wonder if I need to get up with this?
They provided an application, however, they didn't specify a donation amount. I can just remind council.
Yep, that
Just 1 second. So they didn't specify. The details that we have from their application is that they're part of Lions Club International, serving Southwest Middlesex for over 50 years. Their purpose is community betterment, and they give funds to various projects and provide manpower to support Southwest Middlesex projects. So they're looking at some sort of donation to support their operational and their volunteerism.
Thank you. Marguerite, did you? Sorry, Alan. I just thought.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Just in conversations at the Lions Club, it was their understanding that they had to apply for a grant to be allowed to continue to use the room upstairs in the arena. I'm not sure that they're looking for a financial donation, but that was their main concern.
That is fantastic update. Thank you, Councillor Emery. I can confirm through council conversations and deliberations that we are still providing those discounted fees for the rentals. So then there would be no financial request through this grant process. Thank you.
Yep. Yes.
To clarify, Denise, I think we changed their policy so that these organizations that want to get the reduced rate have to apply for that.
Yes, thank you for that, Councillor McGill. That was a great reminder. So that was the understanding when we did the council grant applications. However, in December, it became confusing. And back in December, council voted through resolution that it would not, the application process would not apply this year for the discounted rates. And through the fees and charges conversation, council agreed to continue to give those discounts.
Okay.
We are, though, however, in 2026, going to quantify that dollar to provide for council next year so that they can review whether they want to continue those rebates. We don't have a mechanism currently, but we do for 2026 to quantify for council's better information.
Sounds good. Any last call for questions? Mark, one more quick.
Yeah, as far as the Eckford Museum goes, we haven't talked about that yet. It says we approved $500 in 2025. They didn't request anything in 2026. So I talked to the chair of the Eckford Museum Board, and she said, well, we don't really need a grant, but we sure would like the roof fixed. I wondered if, and I know that's come up to council before. I don't know whether Kevin wanted to comment on that, the roof of the Eckford Museum that's in the Appin Park.
Through you, Mayor, to Councilor McGill. I was unaware of the roof repair, but that is something that we could investigate and look into for sure.
For a repair to the roof, if it was a small amount, how, does that have to be somehow included in the budget, or can it come out of main?
That could be an
Maintenance, I
option.
presume.
Yeah, because we wouldn't want the roof leaking and damage historical artifacts they've got in there.
Okay, Kevin, that's under your belt there.
So the only other item that I can think of that is not in the 26 budget, but was in the 25 budget, is the approval through council resolution last year to allocate, and it was a conversation item at the last budget meeting, to allocate an equal share for the healthy snack programs at our 4 schools. Currently, we have 1 school that has applied, which is Moses Central. They're asking for $500. If we follow the resolution from 2025, there was a $1,000 budget allocated, which would mean each school would get $250. So that's the only other item that I'm now aware of from the 2025 that I did not include that council may want to consider. So Moses asking for 500. The other schools have not asked. Would council like to grant the 500? Would council like to put a set amount for each school to be divided? That's the only last thing that I'm aware of that is missing from this conversation.
The Mosa, Echo, and St. Charles, I understand. Is that correct?
And the high school.
And the high school as well?
Yes.
Okay, 4, okay, yeah. I think they would, to some degree, I think it's mandatory, I
I
believe.
think most high schools do.
Yeah.
From my
mandatory.
experience in having children in the high school programs, they also have that privilege.
Yeah.
To the students.
Council, what's your wish? Go ahead.
I personally like each school getting 250. I think that's
I do as well.
fair
Yep.
across the board.
Would you make that a motion?
I will.
Okay, is there a seconder? Councilor Myers, yes. Questions?
Well, Denise, you mentioned this, and I think I brought the question up too before a few days ago, but I can remember last year, we decided not to give the money to the feral cat program and give more to the schools. And I think Jody made the motion, maybe. Do you remember that?
So I
So
have, I
if
have the
that-
resolution in front of me. Funds allocated to the feral cat program. So the funds that were requested from the feral cat was moved to the public school breakfast club, and that was for $1,000. So that's the conversation that we're having. Well, actually it was 1,500. But it got transferred in the 2025 budget by staff as 1,000. So that would be an error on staff's part. And I had just had Colleen, the clerk's department, bring this after you had commented. So it would have been 1,500. You're correct. So that is what council directed in 2025. But unfortunately,
But-
staff didn't pick up on that. So I apologize.
Yep, okay, one more question.
Yeah, but I think, to my understanding, it would have been, we would have given the school breakfast program the $1,500 on top of the 1,000 that they were already going to receive. So that would have made it 2,500. But I guess that didn't
And that
happen.
could be as well. I can't speak to the 2025 budget because I wasn't here, but you are correct. That would be $2,500.
But who made the motion
Yeah,
just now?
Counselor Haglund and seconded by Counselor Myers.
Yes,
Well, I'll leave it up to them, but
Yeah. uh,
whether they want to
you
go
know-
with 2,500 or just 1,000, I don't know.
Jody, even if you allocated $1,600, it'd be $400 a piece.
Recommendation to move it up to $500 per school. So for a total of $2,000, if that's agreeable to the mover and seconder.
I think that works. And we'll just check on the whole make sure the high school program has that. I'm sure they do. I'm sure Michael would have that. The EHS would have that. I think it's mandatory now.
So council would be proposing to add $8,900 to the council grant budget. And if council's in agreement with that,
Did that go for?
Well, we are reducing 3,700 from the Four Villas. We've increased the Oakland Cemetery because that was not applied for. We've decreased the Moses Central by 500 and increased by 2,000 or $1,500 net. So the increase to the budget would be $8,900. Because those items were not in the budget in which you have in front of you. Nope. Community villas was,
We took that
so I
out.
decreased $3,700 because you've cut it to 50%. I've added Oakland Cemetery because it was not included in the budget for $955. And then I've added $1,500 to the budget because only Moses Central Public School applied. And you're adding the other schools at 500 each. Did I do my math wrong? Hold on.
Just check it. It seems out of whack.
I apologize, $4,245. My negatives and debits. One second. No, you're correct. Hold on, hold on. I do know how to use a calculator. So we've added 955 plus 1,500 minus 3,700. That would be a reduction of 1,245.
That sounds good. You've got a lot on your plate there, Denise, so. yeah,
Sorry, I apologize.
No problem. Apologies aren't necessary. Okay, Ed, go ahead.
I'd like to ask a question about the Melbourne Agricultural Society.
Okay,
7,000.
can we clean up, Ed? Can you hold that just as we're talking about this breakfast program?
Okay.
Just let that order of business get concluded, and then the chair will welcome your comments on that. We have that motion that the 4 schools be allocated $500 each. And it's been moved. You agree to that, Jody? Ed, you will accept that change in the motion? Okay, I'll call the question. There's been lots of discussion on this. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Okay, Councillor Myers, you go ahead.
Yes, question, oh, thank you, Mark. Question about the Melbourne Ag Society for $7,000. It looks like we did donate that last year, but do we know, like I know there's a split there. Does Strathroy Caradoc give money to them? And how much is it? And what do they do to it? What do they do with it? It says here that supports Southwest Middlesex, and it says not available. So how is this organization supporting Southwest Middlesex?
Well, it does remain a social center for